you figure out what you wanted to talk about now?
Hello, Jovan. It's me. I called a couple of minutes ago.
Uh huh.
I would like to talk about.
Talk about now.
I would love to. I would like to talk about the pro-life argument, pro-life against pro-choice.
Okay.
Okay. So, I'll just say you just go ahead and explain to me what you believe about the whole issue, and then I'll just tell you what I believe,
Yeah, sure. I don't believe any
and then we
person
can
should.
go back and forth.
Yeah. I don't believe that any person. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't believe that any person should be forced to. Or let me actually rephrase that. I don't believe any person is obligated to carry another person in their body, especially if that person is not sentient.
Can you repeat the last part?
I said especially if the person inside of them is not sentient.
Okay. So they should not be obliged to carry another form of cellular structure, especially if they are not sentient. Okay. Okay. So obviously, I would tell you that. Okay. Before I start, let me just think a couple of seconds because I want to do you the courtesy of giving you what I think. Um, I'm just thinking about a way how I'll tell you what I think. Just give me a second. Um, okay, let's go like this. So I am a Christian, and that's why I stand behind the opinion that because God creates the universe, that means that obviously aborting a child or aborting the clump of cells in the womb would be considered murder. But I do not want to make this a religious debate because that's a whole different topic. But just to let you know where I come from, I obviously believe that the thing in the womb is alive, whether or not it is sentient the way that we are sentient. And so that's where I come from. And I don't know how you do your debates, but I would just say just let's go back and forth.
Yeah,
If
I
you
just
want, you
don't.
can
I
start.
just don't care about like religion doesn't mean anything to me because it's an unprovable stance. So like
Yeah, sure. As I said, let's not
even
make
if
this religious debate or anything.
sure, then my stance is just I don't feel that people are obligated to carry another being.
Okay. So you say that it is another being, which I mean, I obviously agree with you. The child in the womb is not the mother. And do you think that the child is part of the body of the mother, or it is not a part of it? And what I mean with it is that, of course, you could say that there is like this cord thing that is attached to the belly of the child, right? Would you say that because the cord is attached to to the late staged belly of the child makes it connected to the mother, and therefore it is a part of that mother, which where you then would say that because it's a part of her body, she gets to decide over it.
No, I would say it's a separate entity. Sure, I don't think it's.
Okay,
I
so
don't
at
think that.
any stage, it's still a separate entity.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, perfect. So let me ask you this way: if I chop my own arm off, would you say that I have a right to do that because that's my arm? It's attached to
Yes.
my body.
Yes.
Like nobody could tell me not to do it. Like I have the sovereign opinion or power of decision over my own or chopping my own limbs off, for example.
Yes.
Okay. So if I then go and chop someone else's limbs off, that's the point where you, for example, would say, don't do that because it's not your body.
Yes.
Okay. How is it then that you would tell a woman that you're cool with her removing the child that is in her if it's not part of her body? As you said a couple of seconds ago, we established, you said at any stage the child is not part of the body of the mother.
Yep.
So basically you're going back against your own opinion there.
Nope. Because I said she's not obligated to keep the child inside of her.
Okay, then okay. If she's not obligated to keep the child inside of her, why does she then have sexual intercourse and risk having that child?
That doesn't
Like
address my
like
argument.
like what I mean is if she has the intercourse and she knows what generally happens if you don't do it like with a condom or any way you do like what is the English word? Um, you
Uh-huh.
know what I
I
mean?
don't I don't
Like
know what I don't know what
uh,
this doesn't address the obligation. Just because she had sex doesn't mean she's
okay,
obligated.
okay. Just before I continue speaking, I just want to apologize because I'm from Germany. My English is not the best, so
Uh-huh.
forgive me if I have a little bit of stuttering. Um, so what I want to say is, if you are okay with her not being obligated to keep carrying the child, then why would you then not tell her to not have sexual intercourse, or at
Because I
least
don't believe that sexual
um,
intercourse
do
creates
it
an
better
obligation.
protective?
Because I don't believe that sexual intercourse creates an obligation, why would I tell her to stop having sexual intercourse if I don't believe an obligation is created off of it?
Okay, so what is then the major purpose of sexual intercourse?
Fun, usually.
Okay, so you're saying that humans can have sexual intercourse primarily because of fun and not for the procreation.
Yeah, I would say because 5% of because you can only get pregnant off of unprotected intercourse 5% of the time. I would say that like sex is primarily for fun, not for procreation. Most people don't. Most people when they have sex, it's not for the express purpose of procreating. So yeah,
Sure, I'm not saying what people's opinion is. I'm saying you and I did not create the human body. So obviously there is another standard or dimension that had the last opinion, if you can say it that way, when it comes to the creation of the human body, or generally any body from any animal that also has the same way of procreating like we are. So what I'm saying is, even if there is no God and we are just a product of nature in that sense, or two asteroids colliding together and Earth forms and then nature decides to make us that way, you would agree that procreation, that the purpose of having sexual intercourse is mainly for having a child, because that's what happens if you have sex.
no,
Or are you really set on the opinion that sex is just for fun and having a child is
I
like a
would say
side
I
thing?
would say I would say procreation is a secondary function of sex.
Okay. Okay. So another
But
method that
again,
I use
just really
to,
quickly, because I don't
yeah,
believe
sure.
sex creates an obligation, there is no reason for me to tell people not to have sex. Because even if you do have sex, no obligation is created to this fetus by this action. So,
Okay, but you do, but everyone knows and is taught that if you don't have quote unquote safe sex, then a child is the,
yes, but it doesn't
well,
matter.
child is
It
what
doesn't
comes out,
matter
or
that
a
they get
pregnancy is what
pregnant.
comes out.
Yes, but it doesn't matter that they get pregnant because I don't believe there's an obligation there. So they can just have an abortion if they get pregnant. Should
Okay,
they use protection?
so
Yeah, for a litany of
yeah.
reasons, they should use protection. Like mostly because of STIs. But if they don't, they don't. They're adults. If they consent, then
Okay, so let me ask you this then: you are a moral relativist. Is that possible?
am I a moral relativist? I don't know. Maybe.
Like, are you the type of guy that says good and evil is not like a thing that is set in nature and no one can argue about it, no matter how you feel? Or do you say that, yeah, sure, universe is all about relativism. We can pretty much do whatever we want as long as, for example, there are people that say I'm a good person as long as I don't murder anyone. I can still steal something here and there, but as long as I don't murder anyone, I'm good. Or I don't know. There's some nations that commit slavery still today,
I don't
and they
believe.
think
I
of
don't
themselves as
believe.
being good.
Yeah, I'll just answer this. I don't believe that morality is set by any intrinsic. Or I'm sorry. I don't believe morality is set outwardly by something that's other than humans. Right. I don't believe that
Okay,
that
perfect.
morality is like a natural thing. I think morality is derived from like societies mostly.
Okay,
Typically,
that's
it's going to
cool.
be like evolutionary
So
intuition that derives these things.
Okay. Okay, so basically what you're saying is every nation gets to decide what they can do whatever they want as long as the majority agrees with it.
No, that's not what I said.
Well, then what do you say?
I don't care whether or not the majority of people agree that something is or is not moral, right? That doesn't make it moral or not moral, right? Just a bunch of people agreeing it, right? A bunch of people agreed that slavery was okay. That doesn't make slavery moral. I would say when we're looking at moral, I tend to look at it from a level of harm. Like if you are engaging in something that causes someone else to experience harm, that's probably going to be an immoral action, um,
Hmm.
unless that harm is justified. In which case, then it wouldn't be.
Okay, so well, how do I engage in this? So, okay, another question that I have is: do you think that the pro-life and pro-choice argument is something that is like not older than 50 years?
I don't
Like,
know the I don't know the
do you
relevance.
think?
I don't really care how
Okay,
old an argument is. You know what I mean?
but
The
okay,
argument could
so
have been
so the
made
thing, yeah,
tomorrow, and I would say it has as much validity as an argument that was made 100 years ago.
okay, so you're saying that it's something new, like last 50 years.
Maybe I don't know the history of the arguments. I don't know like when the arguments
Okay,
came to
so okay,
fruition.
because that's what I want to talk about. The thing is actually that abortion is not as old as, let's say, last 50 years, and I'm not even talking about last 1,000 years or medieval ages, because the thing is, if it's a new topic, let's say it lasts 50 years, and debates can go on for hundreds of years, and people still don't agree with something after like hundreds of years. So the thing that so someone could say, okay, I mean it's a new topic, and we have still since we haven't been since we didn't agree on anything, it's nothing is set in stone, and the debate continues. But the point that I want to actually make is that the topic of abortion has actually been around longer than over 2,000 years, and I'm talking about before Christ's time.
I don't know
So
what the relevance to this is,
the
like to the
relevance
larger
is
debate at
that
hand.
throughout history, abortion has been labeled as immoral and wrong and murder.
Okay.
That's the point that I'm making, because
Okay.
it would be one thing, for example, it would be one thing if I were to talk to you and you
Just
think
FYI,
it's a new topic, and
this doesn't make it immoral. Just because people thought it was immoral for hundreds of years doesn't make it immoral. People can be wrong,
yeah,
right?
sure, but the thing is, why would you think people over 2,000 years ago already agreed that this is immoral?
Because
Because
they didn't know
the
anything.
another thing, yeah, okay, yeah,
Because
go ahead.
people 2,000 years ago were really dumb. That's why people 2,000 years ago thought the Earth was flat. They weren't the smartest group of people, right? So like, yeah, it doesn't. I don't really care what people 2,000 years ago thought would be moral or immoral. Like I said, I'm going to base my morality around like harm reduction and what does or does not cause the
Mhm.
least or most amount of harm.
Do you actually know where abortion has its roots? Like, do you know where it actually comes from? Because the next thing that I would tell you is actually its origin, and I would love to hear your opinion on that. But do you know where it comes from?
Abortion has existed for thousands of years. So
But or do you have any source document which you can refer to that would tell you what the most likely back in time origin is of abortion?
you tell me.
Because the answer that I have for you might shock you. But what did you want to say?
Go ahead. You tell me.
Okay. So once again, listen closely to what I'm saying, okay?
Sure.
There is, and I'm going to make a reference to the Bible, but I want you to know that I'm not constructing a religious argument. You do not need to believe in God in order to understand and agree with what I'm saying. So this is why I'm telling you, you have to listen very closely, okay? I don't know if you want to take my word for it or if you want to open up a browser, but if you, for example, Google, but I'm doing it right now for you so I can give you accurate information and for the audience, of course. There is a part of the Bible, which is one of the first parts of the Bible. This is Old Testament times, thousands of years before Jesus Christ. So we're talking about 3, 4, almost 5,000 years before the time of now. The segment is called the Book of Enoch. Okay? The Book of Enoch was written, let me just Google it for you. Book of Enoch. Give me a second. So the Book of Enoch was written in the year, give me a second. Book of Enoch, sometime around 300 to 100 BC, okay? And it talks about a man that is also mentioned in the Bible, and this man, the name of that man is named Enoch, okay? And this man lived within the first 5, 6 generations after Adam and Eve. So according to biblical theology, Adam and Eve, first humans, and then a couple of hundreds of years, maybe 1,000 years later, Enoch came into existence. And this book of Enoch is talking about the events and life that Enoch lived. And the thing that is mentioned is that the origin of abortion is that demons, and I'm talking, and just so you know, demons is the same thing what Satan is, but Satan is like the leader of all the demons. Very evil beings. And these demons came down to earth and taught this to humanity in order to destroy God's creation and corrupt them all.
Okay.
And if you look into any type of historical documents, you will see that the origin of the practice of abortion always comes from nations that worshipped some type of god, where the tradition of that god was, for example, like in Egypt, for example, to have sex with your family members, have sex with animals, or, for example, child sacrifice.
Wait, hold
to
on.
take your
Wait,
living
real
child,
quick.
burn it alive.
Can I just say something real quick?
Okay,
God.
I'll just finish
Wait.
it in
Hold on.
one
I just
sentence.
want to mention. God also condones sleeping with family members. Otherwise, none of us would be here.
Sure. Look,
Okay.
I was about to finish my sentence, and then you
Sure.
can say whatever you want to say.
Sure.
But
go
as I
ahead.
said, I'm not trying to make this a religious debate. I'm
You
not
did.
saying because God said so, it's true. The only thing that the point that I'm trying to make is that what do you say about abortion in light of the fact that if you go as far as possible back into time, the only documents that ever talk about abortion is when a nation decided to worship some type of god who had as traditions of worship, which the things I just mentioned to you, things that are just completely like disgusting, and one part of them is abortion. So basically, the whole tradition of those false gods, in that sense, was certain practices that actually go against the preservation of life, and abortion being one of them. So my question to you would be, now that you have, I hope you understand the kind of like the way that I wanted to frame the question, the statement that I just gave. So in light of what I've just told you about the origin of abortion, does that change in any way how you think about abortion, like in the way that I just tried to frame the question? Like, I hope you understood what I was trying to say.
Yeah, the answer is no. Not at all.
Okay, so you still think it's totally fine.
Yep.
But that would pretty much mean that you are. But okay, good. Okay, so but did you understand the question in the way that I wanted to convey what I was trying to say to you? Did you understand it?
Yep. 100%.
Okay. Well, I mean, look, at least you're honest. I respect that. So another question that I would have is, what do you think how a nation would look like where everyone can abort their children? Do you think that nation will last long?
Yeah, it would look like Canada, and it would last as long as Canada has lasted.
What do you mean?
Canada has uh, no abortion laws. Their abortions are completely open, and it's Canada's doing just fine.
Yeah, but I mean, um, wouldn't you say that the abolition of abortion didn't happen so long ago? I mean, it's not like we're saying that Canada existed for like the last thousands of years, and for the last thousands of years there was no law against abortion, because then your answer I would take it, accept it. But if the abortion only happened around, if the abolition of the abortion law only happened like 50 years ago, then you can't really take it as an argument.
Oh, by the way,
Because
somebody paid to
what
remove
I
you, so see ya. Jesus Christ! Everybody say WK space.